Hi there, and welcome to the Q Jamtracks channel. Now, what you just heard was the main theme of The Simpsons, and probably you could recognize this from a mile away due to its very typical and a little bit awkward sound. A part of The Simpsons theme is the sound of the so-called Lydian Dominant scale. This can be an intriguing, glorious soaring and even haunting sound which is excellent to compose all kinds of pretty colorful music. Now in this video we're going to look at some theoretical, practical and some applicable aspects of this particular skill. Now first we're going to look at the basics of the skill, and after that we're going to explore the names the skill goes by. Next we're going to harmonize the skill and look at ways to study it and to get familiar with it. Now then you'll see in what situations you can use this Lydian Dominant skill. And we look at some arpeggios that are useful in this context. And finally we create a pentatonic version of the skill, which can be helpful to start off with. Now during the tutorial you'll be able to learn some useful licks and riffs. So let's not waste any time and let's go for it. So what is this Lydian Dominant skill? Well, it can be described in many ways. And the simplest way to look at it is to approach the Lydian Dominant scale as a major scale with a raised 4th degree and a flattened 7th degree. Now, this is the most straightforward way, but certainly not the best way. A more sophisticated way is to see it as the scale of which it comes from, namely the melodic minor scale. And to be exact, the Lydian Dominant scale is the 4th mode of a melodic minor scale. So for instance, the A Lydian Dominant scale is extracted from the E melodic minor scale, because A is the 4th note in the E melodic minor scale. But there are more ways to approach this beautiful scale, and that's all in the name. The name of the scale, Lydian Dominant, betrays the hybrid character. On one hand it's the Lydian scale and on the other hand it's the Dominant scale. So it's a real mixture of both scales, creating a brand new sound. In G major the Lydian mode starts on the 4th note, in this case the note C. So C Lydian looks and sounds like this. Back to the Lydian Dominant scale. The dominant character lies in the flattened 7th degree and a major 3rd, which also defines the Mixolydian mode. Now this is the 5th mode of a major scale, so C Mixolydian is the 5th mode of an F major scale and looks and sounds like this. Now combining the characteristic note of the Lydian scale with the characteristic note of the Mixolydian scale, or dominant scale if you like, will create a hybrid Lydian Dominant scale. A Mixolydian scale with a sharpened 4th degree or a Lydian scale with a flattened 7th degree. It's the same thing. So the C Lydian Dominant scale looks and sounds like this. Now, because of its ambiguous character, the scale goes by many names. And the most popular name is addressing it by the most obvious name, and that's the Lydian flat 7 or the Lydian Dominant scale. But as we've seen just now, the scale can also be seen as a Mixolydian sharp 4 scale, a Mixolydian scale with a raised 4th degree. And the third interesting name is the acoustic scale or overtone scale, referring to the resemblance of the harmonic partials on, for instance, the note C. Now, overtones are notes that sound along with the note that is actually played and gives acoustic instruments like the guitar and piano its timbre and its characteristic sound. Now, overtones that sound when we play the note C are C1, C2, G2, C3, E3, G3, B flat 3, C4, E4, F sharp 4, G4, A4, and so on, resulting in this cumulative sound. Some of the overtones are not in tune, but that's common for overtones. And all the notes of the Lydian Dominant scale are represented more or less in those partials. Now we can grasp this overtone mix in a 13 arpeggio that contains all the notes of the Lydian Dominant scale. And this results in a dominant 9, 13, sharp 11 arpeggio. So let's harmonize the dominant Lydian scale, and let's do this on the tonic A, so we can use the open A string later on as our drone tone to establish a strong tonality towards the tonic A. The notes of the A Lydian Dominant scale are A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, and G. Now the sharpened 4th degree D sharp and the flattened 7th degree G are the characteristic notes in this major scale. The chords that emerge from this scale when we harmonize it by stacking third intervals are as follows: the A dominant 7 chord, the B dominant 7 chord, the C sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord, the D sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord, the E minor major 7 chord, the F sharp minor 7 chord, and the G major 7 sharp 5 chord. Of course, these chords are the ones that you'll find in the E melodic minor scale, of which A Lydian Dominant is extracted. Remember that the Lydian Dominant scale starts on the 4th note of a melodic minor scale. Now the chord that contains the two characteristic notes is the chord on the 5th degree, the beautiful and mysterious minor major 7 chord. This contains the notes E, G, B, and D sharp. We all know this chord from the James Bond theme, first used in Dr. No in 1962. The G major 7 sharp 5 chord, also a chord with lots of character and also containing the characteristic notes. Is also a beautiful chord to use. So using these two chords, the E minor major 7 chord and the G major 7 sharp 5 chord played over an A drone would trigger the A Lydian Dominant sound. Now we could come up with this straightforward example. You could also metalize the Lydian Dominant scale, and you could even use some polyrhythmic patterns to emphasize that haunted sound of this scale. Again, emphasize the characteristic notes of the scale to grasp the essence of the sound you are looking for. Now in this example I used E Lydian Dominant with the characteristic notes G sharp, which is the major 3rd, A sharp, which is the raised 4th degree, and of course D, which is the flattened 7th degree. Now roughly you could use two ways to study the scale regarding sound and harmony. To start with, you could play the scale up and down the neck while landing on the tonic each time and making some rhythmic variations within this scale. In the meantime, just keep track of those two characteristic notes, the augmented 4th degree and of course the minor 7th degree. The second way to study a scale is to harmonize it, like we did before, and play the chords beneath the tonic that serves as a drone tone. here's an overview of some scale patterns of the Lydian Dominant scale. Now become a Patreon and you can download these scale patterns in a nice PDF booklet together with the summary of the tutorial. Now it's common practice to use the Lydian Dominant scale over a non-resolving dominant chord. That means that you should be careful with using it over a dominant chord that does resolve to the tonic, or has a 5-1 relationship with the next chord in line. Now an example would be playing it over a 1 chord in a blues progression. This chord doesn't resolve, so we'll play Lydian Dominant licks over the A7 chord in an A major blues. Or we can use it over a progression where the dominant 7 chord doesn't resolve to the 1 chord but travels to a minor version of the chord. In this progression, the D9 chord is a non-resolving dominant chord, and we can use the D Lydian Dominant scale. And of course in a metal riff this scale is coming to life too, as we have seen earlier in the video. Of course all arpeggios of the chords from the Lydian Dominant scale will work as an improvisation asset, but some of them will work better than others. Let's look at the A Lydian Dominant scale again. The first arpeggio that comes to mind is the A7 flat 5 arpeggio. This chord contains both characteristic notes, the tonic and the major third. Now, could we ask for more? The chord on the 7th degree is the G major 7 sharp 5 arpeggio. This is also a chord that contains the 2 characteristic notes of the Lydian Dominant scale. It contains the notes G, B, D sharp and F sharp. Now, like the G major 7 sharp 5 chord, the E minor major 7 chord on the 5th degree also contains both trigger notes for the A Lydian Dominant scale. It contains the notes E, G, B and D sharp. Now the combination of 2 diminished chords, or the C sharp minor 7 flat 5 and the D sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord, will outline the A Lydian Dominant scale too. So, plenty of possibilities to improvise or create riffs using the arpeggios of the Lydian Dominant scale. Now, like almost any other scale, with the necessary exceptions of course, we could minimize the essence of a full range scale to only 5 notes to resemble a pentatonic scale feeling. Now in the case of the Lydian Dominant scale we can leave out the 2nd and the 6th note, so we'll end up with this minimized pentatonic scale. A, C sharp, D sharp, E and G. It contains the 3rd, establishing the major character, the raised 4th, establishing the Lydian sound, and the minor 7, establishing the dominant character. By the way, these are all notes of the A7 sharp 11 arpeggio. Life can be so simple, right? The Lydian Dominant scale is a beautiful scale with an intriguing sound which can be used for all kinds of music, but it's particularly suited for progressive rock, metal, fusion, blues and jazz. Now, the sound, as we have seen, is very specific and can be a valuable asset in your improvisation arsenal. Also for metal, the scale is a beauty. It will take some time though to get 100% familiar with it, but take it slow, just try to learn some licks and create some of your own. I'm sure you'll get the hang of it while exploring the possibilities. For now, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate the likes and comments to an unbelievable extent. If you want some extra content that goes with the videos, please consider to be one of my Patreons on patreon.com/qjamtracks. So, greets from the Netherlands, and I thank you all and I see you in a next video. Bye!